E aí, pessoal, tudo bem? Ivan novamente trazendo mais uma entrevista internacional, dessa vez com Keith Williams. Para quem não conhece, porque não é guitarrista, o Keith Williams ele tem um canal chamado 5 Watt World, né? Que é o mundo de 5 watts, né? Que é a potência, né, das válvulas ali que ele gosta dos amplificadores dele. Se eu não me engano é isso. Vamos descobrir no papo ali. Né? Então o Keith Williams ele tem esse canal dele que é dedicado a uma coisa bem simples. O slogan dele é mais música com menos equipamento. Né? Então assim você realmente precisa de 15 guitarras, 15 amplificadores, 12 baixos, 27 pedais para fazer sua música. Então é uma estratégia de minimalismo, né, aplicado à música para que o objetivo seja fazer a música, certo? Foi um bate-papo muito legal, muito instrutivo, né, e acho que vocês vão curtir, né? De novo, a ideia aqui é trazer a curadoria, né, através do meu olhar, da minha experiência, eu apresentar coisas que eu acho muito legal para vocês conhecerem. E essa é a minha forma de contribuir com vocês como músico, como seres humanos, né? Se eu puder ter uma influência positiva em vocês, eu já fico super feliz. Então não se esqueça de se inscrever, dar um joinha e quem puder por R$ 2,90 apoiar o canal se tornando membro, tá? Tem várias vantagens e várias oportunidades de consumir de uma forma exclusiva o conteúdo que a gente produz aqui no canal, certo? Bora para a entrevista.
So weird. Yeah.
Yeah. COVID just made our world crazy. You know?
Yeah. It's smaller in that it's at home, only at
Yeah.
home. Yeah. Pretty nuts.
Yeah. I
Is
think
my sound good?
Yeah, perfect.
Levels are good? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And let me introduce myself. I'm a veterinarian, and I work at the university here, and I do research in animal reproduction.
Okay.
And then I'm a bass player. I have the bass as a passion. So it's been like 13 or 14 years. I am a moderator at the Brazilian Bass Forum.
Okay.
And we are about almost 30,000 people, subscribers.
Cool.
And it's really nice because it's the largest bass community in Portuguese. So we have also people from Portugal and some African countries. So that's very interesting. And
Yeah, there's actually a guy who's been a very active member of 5 Watt World, Neil Elliott, and Neil's lives in Portugal now, but his family is originally from France and Spain, and I think he's teaching English actually in Portugal. But I'll bet you he's a member. He's in all the forums, it seems. He's always struggling. He got to know the 5 Watt World because he's always struggling to not buy more stuff. So, which is a battle I've been losing lately. So
yeah, and that's something that I had to learn.
I'll bet kids help with that.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Having family.
A friend of mine a long time ago said to me, I didn't have kids, and I was married at the time, and I said, well, no one should have kids unless they understand that they're not the center of the universe. And she's like, you have that completely backwards. If you have kids, you're not the center of the universe. That's how you learn that thing, Keith. You've got it upside down. It was fascinating.
That's right.
Yeah. There's a friend of mine when I was working at the university as well, because I worked in university administration for 30 years.
Yes.
Yeah. So what kind of animal reproduction? What kind of animals?
Yeah. In fact, I my master's and then my PhD was with cattle and horses.
Okay.
Reproduction. And
I grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
Riding horses, raising cows for beef.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I didn't because I grew up in Rio, so in very urban area close to the beach, and then I decided to escape from all this messy violence environment that's Rio. And now I live in the southernmost state of Brazil, close to Uruguay and Argentina.
Okay.
And it's calmer, it's colder, and I believe my kids are having a healthier childhood here than I had in Rio back in the 80s.
Oh, sure,
It's
sure,
really
sure.
tough. And in the last in the last 2 years, I started to record videos, making video reviews of bass guitars and some equipment, because I used to do this in the bass forum, and but I used to write it down, my opinion about the instruments that I tested.
Mhm.
And with the pandemics, I had to start teaching online.
Mhm.
So I figure out, so perhaps I will start to record things to improve my video editing and audio capabilities, to improve my classes. So I will do this using music. So let's have fun. So then my YouTube channel became a kind of reference for Brazilians to learn more about instruments.
Yeah.
And very close here to my town, there's a guy. We have a Brazilian eBay here, and he's one of the most famous bass dealers
Mhm.
in Brazil. He sells to the whole country, and so in these 2 years, he brought me more than 100 different basses
Oh, that's so
to make
cool.
reviews. So it became a huge library, and I always record in the same way
Yep.
without editing, to people hear how the bass sounds like, and became a kind of a library of instruments. So,
It's great.
but in the end, after 100 reviews, I talked to my audience. You don't need so many equipments. You don't need expensive instruments to make good music. The music is inside your head. So that's why I came. I follow your channel for a long time. So and I really agree with your motto. Doing
Most
more
music
with
from the
less.
least gear.
Yeah, that's so. So the first question I would like to, how did you get into this view of music gear? Because we are passionate about instruments. We of course, a precision. You don't play a precision bass like a jazz bass.
Right.
The way I handle those basses are pretty different,
Mhm.
and a fodera with 6 strings, you can do. You can
Yeah.
create crazy things that you cannot do in a precision. So,
Yeah.
but do you really need to spend here in Brazil? It's the prices. You can buy a very good car with a fodera for the same price as a fodera. So
Yeah.
but you don't need this. So I would like to hear more about this from you.
Yeah, sure. I can talk about how the channel started and those kinds of things. So I was married for 20 years, and in the last probably 6 or 7 years of my marriage, I was playing more guitar, but I also, well, to be honest, actually, I had a period of time where I changed jobs and I wasn't playing guitar at all, like for 2 years of my new job, because I was a director for the first time, and it was a lot of hours, and that was probably part of like what was going on at home too. Is I was always working, and she was a teacher, she was always working, and I found myself like collecting guitars, not expensive guitars, just lots of different guitars. And I was, I'd buy some guitars and I'd get them and I'd play them for a little while and I'd put them aside and I'd get them back out. I found myself buying racks for the basement of my house. And it was sort of like, how often am I going to have to buy a new rack? And I wasn't counting. And then the joke at the time, which I don't think is very funny in hindsight, people would say, how many electric guitars do you own? And I'd say, well, I don't know. And they go, what do you mean you don't know? I'm like, well, if I knew, then when my wife asked me, I'd have to tell her. And I don't want to lie. But it was a very kind of sad statement to say as well. So I actually ended up having about 36 electric guitars at one time, 35, 36 electric guitars. And my marriage was coming apart, and I was kind of like, why did I have all this stuff? And I kind of started to think about how we, especially in a modern consumer society, how buying something feels like progress in a way that's immediate and doesn't take an effort, as opposed to sitting down every day. And like I've been working lately on Robin Ford diminished licks, because he's sort of like the guy that I really, everybody looks to people like Robin Ford and Larry Carlton. That's sort of, for me, that jazz blues crossover is the real land of milk and honey. So, that's harder to do. Or like I like to study foreign languages. So I try to do 15 or 20 minutes in French and Dutch every day. And so, but that's a hard thing to do, whether it's that or yoga or whatever that you do for yourself. Those are all harder things to do than clicking buy it now. And then, now I've got this new thing coming in my life and this shiny new guitar. And I have some beautiful guitars. I mean, I'll often say I'm 62 years old. If I'm not going to have nice guitars now, when am I going to have them, right? But the reality is it's really mostly for the channel. When I sold off the guitars, I went down from 36 to 3 electric guitars. I had 3 PRS DGTs. They were really beautiful guitars. And then I got sick. I was in the hospital for about 6 months. And I even looked at my DGTs. I got out of the hospital and they weren't that comfortable to play compared to, so I started researching ergonomic instruments. And that's when I found Strandberg. And then I love the story of Ola Strandberg. And it's a very small company. So it's gotten to the point where I've gotten to know Ola. And I did a live stream with him recently, and a whole bunch of people that are much bigger than I am as far as on YouTube, even like Pliny and Connor Kaminsky from England and stuff. We were teasing Ola about models we wanted to change. We're like, yeah, you need to do this for us, But I love small companies, and I liked working with Strandberg, and they were just that much more comfortable to play. So this idea of having fewer high quality things was in my life, and it was extending to like my clothes and sort of this minimalism idea. And it emphasizes doing things, playing music. And for me, that was always playing music with other people. The reason I started playing music was that the church I went to as a boy had a folk group, and I could play strum guitar in my folk group. And here I was, 14 years old, playing music with other people. And that was an amazing experience to have, so early on. So that's kind of where I got to the like less is more. A member, the guy that does my script editing, has recently bought a couple guitars, and I was teasing him about it. And this is all by text. And he texted me back. He's like, wait a minute. You bought like 3 guitars in the last 4 months. And he was teasing me that I have now more guitars than him. And he had very, very nice guitars too. But anyway, so that's how 5-watt world started. And 5 watts because guitar amps are, the little student amps from the 50s and 60s are 5 watts champs. But I also went through a period of time where I was building amplifiers for fun, and I was building a lot of 5-watt amps because 5 watts is really loud. Not if you're amping a bass signal, which is very long and slow, but on a guitar, man, 5 watts is really loud. I'm going to do a live stream at 4 o'clock today with Jeff McErlane. And then tomorrow I'm doing one on home amps, and I'm going to talk about how loud 5 watts is. And today Jeff's thing, because Jeff has a lot of 100-watt amps, and I'm like, what are you doing with those? 100-watt guitar amp, So, anyway, sorry, I went long on that.
No,
but that is how it started. Yeah,
that's great. And
I did have a couple basses in there too. I've had some.
Oh, how many?
I have always had this thing where I think that I don't have time to play a lot of different instruments. So having multiples of the same instrument that are set up slightly differently made sense to me. I'm not a very big person, so I really like lighter weight things. And I came across the reissue Dan Electro Longhorn short scale basses. I don't have very big hands, so a short scale bass, and for a guitar player, that made a lot of sense. And so at one point, I think I had 3 of them, but one was set up with flat wounds, one was set up with round wounds, so they were different.
So you have different
immediately different sound.
Yeah.
Although to tell you the truth, because I'm a guitar player, not a bass player, and I was playing with a felt pick to kind of get a thumb sound or whatever, I always ended up playing the flat wound. To me, it was that Motown, almost towards a double bass sound that I was always going for. So
yeah, it's really sexy.
Yeah.
I just saw I had a Japanese Fender B51 bass, just like the one
like
in
Bell
your
One. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh, beautiful, beautiful butterscotch. Oh, it sounds incredible. And that's what I always tell my audience that come on, it's a technology from the 50s.
Right.
You don't need to be so expensive or too fancy to have this sound.
Yeah.
The Jamerson sound, for example, that we keep on seeking. Of course, you have Anthony Jackson with his.
Well, Anthony's got this really weird guitar now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hollow body 6-string that he plays now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, it's funny, I haven't been a bass player, but I've always been interested in the other instruments in the band. And so I took bass lessons for a while. And I've always, when there was a bass player magazine, I read that cover to cover. I always say that one of the reasons I ended up doing the channel is that I've been reading guitar magazines since I was 14, and I didn't forget everything I read. So there's a lot of nonsense in there still that comes forward into a video. Mostly it's a research project. That's mostly what I do. The short histories are research projects, and they don't all stick, but some of it was there to start as a seed, so yeah.
Yeah. And you said you're 62 now.
I'm 62 years old. Yep.
You don't look 62.
Well, I said
what have you been drinking in New York?
I didn't have any kids and I never smoked. Yeah, exactly. Well, I've been doing I kind of took care of myself. I did martial arts for a long time when I was first out of college. And I used to say that like my sisters and brother have like high blood pressure and those kinds of stuff. And I always said that when they were, drinking too much Coca-Cola, I was like a vegetarian and I was doing a lot of yoga. So, we all have our own versions of what extremism is. So, yeah, I do, I joke that when people tell me I don't look my age, I'm like, well, I do control the lighting here. I handle this myself. Or like when I'm making a video, I color correct. I'm like, I'm going to add a little color as if I actually go outdoors sometimes, which I almost, I have a beautiful house in a suburb with, at this point in my life, even has a little tiny swimming pool. And people are like, you can never go out there. I'm always so pale from sitting at the computer working on videos because that's what I do. I write one week and then I film and then I edit the video and then it comes out on Thursday. And then I start another one.
Do you write the text of your videos? You write because I love your text. I love the stories are just amazing.
Yeah, I've always been a writer, but I've always been a sort of reluctant writer. But I had it's funny, the things that make you what you are. When I was in college, I had a girlfriend that went to school like 500 miles away. And this is at a time when long distance phone calls were very expensive. I mean, you could have a long distance phone bill. I did have long distance phone bills that would be $200 a month at a time. This is like in the 1980. This is 1980, right? Like around the time you were born, probably. So
yeah.
Well, even later. Right? Anyway, I wrote letters all the time. We write letters, long letters. We were young, we were kids, we were full of love and everything. So I write these long letters, and I realized only years later that I was working on figuring out the best way to say things, to put as much emotion into those letters as I could, to share things that were happening in my life. And then when I ended up working in higher education, I was writing these memos and people were like, wow, you're a really good memo writer. And I'm like, well, I'm just trying to say it in as little information as I can, but make it relatable to the person. So I would tell you that's my least. Is that my least favorite part? I do hate filming. I get really, really nervous when I film. This is easy for me. I'm like, I like people. Talking is easy. But
recording.
But like sitting down to recording things is pretty tough for me. That's a tough thing for me. And it's funny when people will say, oh, you're so, everybody, like some people like the way I do it. Some people say, oh, you're so dry, you're so stiff, you're all these kinds of things. I had somebody the other day wrote me this really long comment that his girlfriend told him all these things I should change about my appearance to be better. Like, oh, you should spend more money on your haircut and you should shave that mustache off and you should do all this stuff. To which I simply replied, I'm a guitar player that makes videos. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not a news personality. I didn't set out to be this thing, you know. It's very
it's kind
funny.
of similar. And me as a teacher, when I enter the classroom with 40 students,
Mhm.
it took like 80 years working, to realize that I will not make. How can I say that? I will not make please 35, 30 of those 40 students. Perhaps 10, 12 will be very hypnotized or into the class, during my class, my teaching.
Yeah.
And the rest, there are 5 that will hate me, the other one that will not give a damn for me.
Right.
So if
And a
this
little
is
tiny
something,
number might even
it
love
takes
you.
some time to deal with this.
Yeah.
In a classroom. Can you imagine in the internet where you have
100,000
viewers?
or each month on average, I average between 400 and 600,000 views a month on my channel. And I've only made about 130 videos.
Again,
Yeah, you going to do those numbers again? So on average, I average between, in a really slow month. Now, August, I'm going to take time off. The numbers will fall off because I won't release new videos. But I can't remember the last time I had less than 300,000 views in a month. And I've had months where I've had 600,000 views. And I remember when the channel got bigger than like my family. I'm from a family of 5 kids. And so there's a lot of kids, and their kids and their nieces and nephews and all this kind of stuff. And I remember when the channel, I actually had 400 subscribers. And I went to my friend Rick Beato, whose channel was already at about 500,000 then. And I did a bunch of videos with him. And when I got home, I released videos on the Telecaster and the Stratocaster, all like boom, boom, boom. And there were a few days where I got more new subscribers than Rick did. That was very tense. He's very competitive.
That's a tough competition.
It was only a few days. It was a few days where I had like 1,200 new subscribers a day. Yeah. It was a good test of our friendship. It's now it's to the point where his channel has gotten so big. My numbers are about, well, I work with him now on his analytics and things because I used to do that as part of my old job. Rick will get between 11 and 15 million views in a month. And he has 3 million subscribers, and I just broke 191,000 subscribers. So I'm like the numbers become completely unrealistic and arbitrary. And, now it's just like, well, 200 is a round number. So I'm kind of waiting to get to 200.
Yeah.
But the number of people that subscribe versus the number of people that view. And it's interesting. Sponsors don't really understand that. They get hung up in how many subscribers you have. I remember when I broke about 100,000 subscribers, I started getting regular emails from companies offering to send me free gear. Well, free, I'm going to send you this pedal and I expect you to make a video about it. And I'm like, well, it takes me days to make a video. And like my time is worth more than your $100 pedal now at this point. So I've never done that. The only sponsors I use are companies that I reach out to. If people reach out to me, I might say, well, I'll look at your stuff online, but don't mail me and don't send me anything. And I like I said earlier, I like small companies. I like to work with small companies. I am working with a small local boutique store, and I had just done my taxes, and the way taxes work in the US is you don't pay tax on anything but cash transactions. And so I said to the guys at the store, I'm like, well, we were working on a deal where they were going to sponsor my live streams for 6 months. And I said, well, this is what it's worth. Why don't you give me guitars instead of cash? They're like, sure. Yeah, we can do that. So I ended up getting these 2 beautiful Wood Library PRS guitars that I would never have spent the money for. And they're kind of like in the bank, they're beautiful guitars. And I have a DGT again, a PRS DGT, which I've been playing a bunch, but I'll tell you, my hands hurt more playing the DGT than playing my Strandbergs. So have you played a Strandberg bass?
Yes, back in when I was in Germany once, I played.
Yeah, they're pretty expensive. Yeah,
they are.
I told Ola he should send me one. He hasn't done it yet.
Well, perhaps I never been to the U.S. before.
Okay.
My accent, I have this English accent. I speak English because my mom she's an English teacher, so me and my
Oh,
sister
I
we
was going
had
to
to
ask you.
learn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
where
I never been to U.S. before, only to Europe because my academic career took me always to Europe. So
interesting.
I never had a chance to go to the U.S. and
Because when I worked at the University of Vermont, the president of the university's background was, I mean, it's a big agricultural school. And the guy that was the president was a specialist in mastitis, dairy cows, genetic research for dairy cows. Yeah, John Bramley.
Yeah, this is pretty big.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, so I mean, obviously the U.S. is really big into that. So yeah, that's what were we talking about? That's
yeah, because I will probably next year I'll be in Germany, and once I was in Germany, I had a chance to visit Warwick, and it was a great opportunity.
I've always heard great things about that. As a company, and the people that work there are really, really great.
Yeah, it was. It all started when I bought a rock bass, the cheapest line.
Yeah,
and the saddle came with a problem, so I tried to fix here in Brazil, but I could not find a dealer, and so I wrote to Germany in German, and the owner Hans-Peter Wilfer had replied me in like 6 hours.
And it's wild, right?
Yeah. And then he said, "Oh, if you come to Germany, come and visit us. You'll be our guest." And then I in fact, I will be there in 3 months. So I said, "No, so come." And I at the time I could not take pictures of the wood inventory, the warehouse where the wood pieces are, because this is kind of problematic. But the rest of the factory, everything was. It was a great. So great. Perhaps maybe I'll try Sandbury someday.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure you would, if you email, it's about 7 or 8 people separate from the manufacturing people in Japan and in Indonesia. It's like 7 or 8 people run the company.
Yeah.
So if you need an introduction, you let me know.
No, thank you.
But like that's how I met Ola. Was I wrote to the company and they didn't respond right away, and my channel was much smaller. And then I wrote again, and then Ola wrote me back. And you're reading the email, and you get to the end, and you're like, "Wait, did I just read that correctly?" That's the owner, the guy who designed these and all that stuff. So,
yeah. Because one of the goals of my channel is trying to bring new content, music and bass related, to the Brazilian audience, because I'm like the I'm in the 1.5% of the population with a higher degree,
right,
with a PhD. So I am 0.0 something.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of YouTube channels dedicated to bass player from a lot of bass players. So, but they are always talking about same kind of stuff, or teaching music theory and techniques, flashy techniques, this kind of stuff. And my goal here is to bring this, since I have this I can speak the language, so I can bring new content, new ideas. So
so it's
tomorrow fun. I will interview Jens Hita.
Wow.
So his basses are just insane. So I just made a review of
the boutique shop that's here has been doing custom basses. The owner is a bass player, actually, and he's been doing custom orders with Jens since he started the store 5 or 6 years ago. Amazing. It's art. It's really, my father was an art professor. So it's like you see these pieces and they should be in a gallery, Yeah. And at the same time, I'm assured by the bass players on the staff there that they play just incredibly. But now we're back to instruments that cost what your car cost.
Yeah.
So one of the things I was going to say to you, because it was started from our back and forth, was periodically I get people who reach out to me and they say, I love what you do and the history and all this kind of stuff. Have you ever thought about branching off and having a secondary channel in Spanish or German or Dutch or French? The problem is I'm not close to somebody who would translate the scripts, because to go back to what you were asking before, yes, I write the entire script out. So for a 30-minute video, it's like a 12 or 13 page single spaced script in 12 point, which I then, blow up and put in a teleprompter and, sweat while I read.
You do have a teleprompter.
Oh, yes, I do. A little tiny one.
You're so focused.
Like this little. It's like this little. Well, if you watch like my Telecaster video, it was the first one I did with the teleprompter. And I'm like a deer in the headlights. And all the comments are like, the guy doesn't blink. I was terrified. I'm reading from the camera. So it was very funny. But that was the thing. And it's like, now it's to the point where, because it's all scripted and locked in, I probably could feed it to I could start working with somebody to translate it and then make it available in a much broader way in Spanish or Japanese.
Well, perhaps you don't need another channel, because I don't know. I don't know if it was the experience of Rick about his second channel, if it was a good thing for him. But
well, the second channel, I work with him on those things, and on the second channel is almost as big as my main channel now. Second channel.
Well,
he's
Rick. Yeah,
he's Rick. Exactly. He's Rick. What are you going to do? He's as somebody a long time ago said, he's a unicorn. He's this completely unique mythical creature,
Yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily do it. I think the thing I need to go after is loading the scripts so that they even go through Google Translate, so that the closed caption is correct, so that somebody has Portuguese running across the bottom or something.
Yeah, because this of course would be great, because Google can translate some things, but
so
this interview I will put a Portuguese subtitle. So I will make an introduction first,
right?
To explain what we are going to talk about, to make things easier for people to understand, and then I hope they will go and check your channel, because.
Well, will you have to go in and type out in Portuguese what I'm saying?
No, I found out a way that I take the video, I upload on Facebook, and then Facebook automatically generates a
script,
the subtitles.
Yeah, really.
And then it can translate it to Portuguese right away too. And then I have to just take a look around, because sometimes it makes some mistakes. But I did this because I found that the Facebook system, it works better for automatic generation of captions. So
really, well, I have to do more research, and I know some people at YouTube through Rick and through other people, but I'm sure that they have to be all over that they have to be all about the translation and the closed caption.
Do this by hand. I don't have time.
I know, right? Who would? Right, exactly.
I have 3 PhD candidates working with me, so
if
I start doing this, they will kill me as a supervisor.
On your day job, exactly. On the real job. Yeah, right.
Yeah, this is not my real job. So
right.
And I would like to ask you to tell me more about your music, and because we are always coming to this minimalistic kind of thing, kind of way of life. So do you express this minimalism through your music too, and choice of notes and the way you improvise? You, of course, when we get older, we play less, less notes. It's kind of common. You don't need to go back and forth all the time. So
you can't.
Do you think your music is also your this kind of, I will say, passion? That the same way we can see the passion, the attention you have in your texts, and the minimalism.
Yeah, minimalism. Yeah.
Can you identify this in your music and the way you express yourself in the guitar?
I should have turned everything on before I got online, because I actually would play a little something. There's a couple people that I've always followed. Pat Metheny and Bill Frisell are 2 jazz guys. Frisell plays a lot of folk music as well. And some of my favorite Pat Metheny music was sort of simple, and I could grab an acoustic guitar and it'd be easier to do a show. But like I'll play something like an American folk song called Shenandoah. Well, the version of Shenandoah that I'm playing in my head, I hear the Bill Frisell version. And Bill Frisell has sort of across his career gone from being sort of a avant-garde jazzer, downtown kind of guy to sort of playing just a couple of notes to sketch a chord. So do you mind if I step away? And
no, feel free.
It'll be terribly out of tune.
Make yourself at home.
Say what? Say what?
Make yourself at home.
Yeah, exactly. Let me do that. I'll be quick about it. We'll see how in tune this is. So this is one of my my guilty pleasures. I've always wanted one of these. It's a Gibson Southern Jumbo, and there's an amazing guitar player named Duke Levine. And I'd followed Duke a little bit because when I was in Vermont, it was close to Boston, and I became aware of him through a guy I took lessons with, and then I corresponded with Duke on Instagram or something, and then I found out that he and Rick Beato went to college together. He's like, oh, for any friend of Rick's. I'm like, well, I thought he's being sarcastic, but can you hear me? You hear it? So he's sketching that melody and the harmony with two notes, moving this D shape up. Yeah. That's me. So you take what you get from these guys, and I do find myself listening to players who play more simply and more beautifully. And Duke Levine is another example of a guy who's kind of come from a jazz background and ended up doing, he's touring with Bonnie Raitt. So here he is playing electric guitar and acoustic guitar with Bonnie Raitt. And obviously that music is very simple compared to what he studied in college. But it's an amazingly beautiful, place. And he'll do tunes like this, or the recording I used in the video that I made about the Gibson Southern Jumbo history. I used Duke Levine playing an old country song called "When the Last Teardrop Falls." It just break your heart the way this guy's, the harmony and stuff. It's just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So anyway. So yeah, I think the minimalism does kind of extend, but part of it is that I'm not a great musician. I was never a full-time musician. So I did play jazz out at one time. So just playing a little bit that was always a part of what I was going to do, because I was never going to be the flashy guy. I was never going to be the lots of notes guy anyway. I made a video about why people are in bands. I think it's called The 3 Reasons. It's very few views. It's one of my favorite videos because it was based on a talk that Neil Gaiman did about why musicians get work. You got to be really a nice guy. You got to do good work, and you got to do it on time. And these are the 3 hallmarks of what he says, people that do freelance work have to be able to do. And then he jokes, you only need 2 out of 3. If you do stuff on time, and it's always good, they'll put up with the fact you're not very nice. Or if you're always nice and they're always glad to see you and you don't get stuff on time, but the work's good, you're good. And it's very funny. It's a talk that he did at a graduation ceremony. And of course, all of that applies to everybody's work. So, yeah.
And I frequently I make the comparison of between my pseudo musical career and my professional career as a veterinarian, as a researcher. And it's funny how many things, because when people ask, what do you do for, who are you? First, I'm a bass player. Then I became a vet. Then I became a researcher. And then I became a professor. But first of all, I started to play bass when I was 13 years old.
Right.
So I see myself as a bass player. Much more time than
it's
than
the oldest part of your identity.
My teenage experiences was always related to music and with bands and gigs.
Yeah.
And then in the early adulthood, also, the way I, as a bass player, I learned so much to how to be a good professional through music, through this previous music life, you know.
Yeah.
And in fact, I gave a lecture once. What have I learned as a bass player and what I use today as a researcher? I made this a lecture.
That's great.
And for example, dealing with the ego of guitar players, who want to make crazy solos, and you will keep the E.
Yeah, right.
For the guy to,
Right.
Yeah, that's right. And you have to find your spot. You have to do your job the way it should be. You have to be supportive.
Yeah.
And
be there dependably.
That's a nice lecture that I have.
Yeah, it's funny. I have friends who are in their 50s and their kids are just starting to like meet people and maybe get serious about getting married. And they know that I play music. And so they'll say, these people will say to me, oh, my son, it's more often, my daughter's dating a musician. And I'm like, what instrument? And they go, oh, he's a drummer or he's a bass player. I'm like, you're okay. Those people understand what it is to hold it down. The drummer, you want them to pack the band. The bass player is really like the motor of the band. You got to be completely dependable. That'll work out. That's going to be okay. If they answer trumpet player, saxophonist, I'm like, you run away. Or just get out of there.
That's a
run
problem.
Fast. That's the joke. Yeah, exactly. Like guitar player, you never know. Could be just there strumming away. You can trust that. But the fast, what kind of music? Oh, okay. Yeah, you're probably all right.
Yeah. So tell me about your plans for the channel in the next months and year. And what do you have in mind for your new goals?
Yeah, it's interesting. Different kinds of videos. I mean, there's only so many pieces of gear. It has to be something that I've used or have a history with, or I've always been interested in. When I was in higher education, I used to do consulting. And there were 3 reasons I would take consulting gigs. The first one would be that I would learn, and this applies to what I do now, that I would learn a lot. That was the first reason, that they would send me to some school where I'd always heard good things about them. Usually it's because they had a new vice president who didn't know anything about the kind of work that they were hiring me to look at. I'm like, okay, that's number 1. Number 2 was they're throwing money at me. I can't not do this thing because I know it's going to get 1 million views. I've never really loved Les Pauls, but it is the absolute quintessential rock and roll guitar. It's my childhood. It's Jimmy Page. It's all these people, right? So there's no question I was going to make that video. The third one is that it takes me into a place, and this doesn't apply as much to videos, except as regards a story. I had a consulting job once where somebody was explaining the project and it wasn't going to pay a lot and it was going to be a lot of work. It was going to be weeks and weeks of work. And then I'm like, okay, well, where is it? And they're like, well, you'd have to be in Manhattan. I'm like, wait, you mean I'll be in New York City where the jazz clubs are on expenses for 3 weeks? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, Okay, I'll do that, So my version of that for doing scripts is that the story is so good that you want to get in and do it. And unfortunately, there's a lot of really great stories in the music industry, either about artists or gear, but the gear that itself is too esoteric, too small in the world, so that not enough people would click on it. Because the first step in writing in having a successful video is the thumbnail and the title. And the thumbnail and the title, as a writer, is it's the first sentence of a story. And I've always been fascinated by the first sentences of stories, and some of my favorite writers are too. One of my favorite novel is a novel by Somerset Maugham, and the first line of the novel is, "I've never started a novel with more misgiving." Immediately, you want to go, what? Wait, what? You're writing a book and you're uncertain about it? Tell me more. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Tale of Two Cities. A modern writer that I love, William Gibson, wrote a novel called Neuromancer in 1983, where he coined the term cyberspace in that novel. And the first line of that novel is, "The sky above the port was the color of television tuned to a dead channel." Now, it presupposes that you're old enough to know black and white television. So it didn't hold up over time, but it's a great first line. It captures a moment. And titles of videos do that too. So if you don't have a title that starts a conversation, then people are not going to click on the video. The people that impress me the most are people who don't put any text on their thumbnail. They can tell you the beginning of the story with the image on the screen. That's incredible to me. Those usually they're filmmakers or photographers that do that. Rick will send me a title, or I'll come up with a title and I'll get on the phone. I get on the phone with other YouTubers and brainstorm titles all the time. And it's almost always where one of us will say a whole sentence and then the other person tries to start chopping words out. So the only thing that's left is like 3 words with some nice alliteration so that it's memorable. So the live stream that Jeff is doing at 4 o'clock today, we were talking about amplifiers and big wattage amplifiers. And I said, how about we just call it amps? How big is too big? Like, that's it. Say this in very few letters. So when I look at what topics I might do in the future, I'd like to do a minimalism kind of video every like 3rd or 4th video. Every other month, I try to do one of those. They don't get as many views right away, but kind of like the bass videos, they get views over time. They're very dependable, parts of the foundation of the channel. Like the Music Man video did not do well at all. It's a great story. It's a great story, how it moved and the people that used these. And, I was this close to having, I know a couple of people that know Tony Levin, and it was like this close to having him on a live stream. And I was like, oh, that'd be incredible. I would be such a fanboy. But the reality is it didn't work out because he was touring with Gabriel. I mean, okay, well, he's got priorities. But it's a great story. But at first, that video didn't get many views at all. For a long time, it was the lowest view video of the last 10. That's how YouTube tells you, that the 10 out of 10 for a long time. And now I think that video's got like 40,000 views, which is a very respectable number.
It is.
I'm always trying to build things that keep people's interest. I'm very interested in storytelling. I'm probably going to make videos that are a little bit shorter as I go into the future. I think that we all have to work hard to pay attention, kind of like what you were saying as a professor. How do you create this to get people's attention? I saw there's a guy, Casey Neistat was this big time YouTuber. He has a brother named Van, who's really in the art world. And he's now doing a channel. And I watch him all the time. And he's okay, but about every 5th video is amazing. And he did a video about storytelling. And he said, this is the quote that it's just echoing in my head. He said that if the story doesn't have a surprise, then it's not a story, it's just a report. And it's kind of the list of dates. People say, this other guy, I know some other people that do, histories of guitars and things. And those they're very different. But what I'm trying to add to my stories is to find the piece of the story that's the surprise. So like I'm working on a video right now on Dumble amplifiers. these mythical guitar amplifiers. And I think that I'm hoping that that this won't give it away too much, but the punchline is people think Dumbles sound a certain way because the most famous Dumble players have a certain sound. But in fact, Alexander Dumble built all kinds of amplifiers. So the punchline is, at some like 2/3 of the way into the video, I have to say to people, this is what they really sound like. This is, you won't know this, but this tone on this record is a Dumble. Doesn't sound anything like this tone on this record. So there's a story arc of an assumption that people make versus what the story actually is. And what Alexander Dumble was trying to do is different than what the world thinks. So I see myself doing more of those. I love doing the live streams. I've been doing those twice a month while I'm on my weeks where I'm writing. And I actually am now just big enough where I can start having some bigger guests on, and I've really enjoyed doing those. I think Rick is a really good interviewer, and I've learned a lot about interviewing people from Rick. The key is to not insert yourself in the interview. You have the guest on so that they can talk.
Wow, his interview with man, I forgot. Oh, damn!
He's done so many big ones.
The drum player, the drummer. Oh,
you mean the recent one, the Greg Bissonette?
No, the previous one.
You mean Bernard Purdy?
Bernard Purdy. Oh man, this was, it's.
Well, did you see the one? You guys are bass players. Did you see the one where he interviewed Ron Carter?
Yo, I was kind of, oh my God.
There were all these moments in that which just blew your mind. He's like, my favorite moment in the interview was when he says, okay, so on this Miles record, Herbie doesn't even come in through the whole first chorus. Did you rehearse that? He's like, no, man, that guy was getting coffee. He didn't even until after we were done running down the first chorus, and then he jumps in, and we're all like, wow, that was cool. And he was out of the room,
That's crazy, isn't it?
And you would never know that, because we've all been listening to that record for all these years going, wow, why did Herbie decide to lay out for a whole chorus and just let the bass and the drums and the horn sketch the harmony and everything? It's such a cool choice. No, he's getting coffee.
Yeah.
Right. So great.
Yeah. I would tell us a brief story. My mom in the 60s, she was, I don't know if I think it was in the late 60s. And she was working with a famous Brazilian architect. And he was world famous. Mm-hmm. He was really famous. And she was his secretary. And Herbie Hancock got married and came to Brazil for his honeymoon.
That's great.
And my mom took Herbie Hancock and his wife to around Rio to show Rio to him. Can you imagine this?
Right. Yeah, blows your mind, right? Yeah, I used to be the advisor when I worked at the State University at Binghamton. I was the advisor to the student group that brought jazz musicians to campus. And of course, the students we were all, jazzers, or wannabe jazzers. And so we were all in awe. People like Branford Marsalis. Well, we had Chick Corea on campus, right? So here I am driving Chick Corea from the hotel to the gig on campus in my little Honda Civic, and I turned to him and I said, Mr. Corea, call me Chick. Okay, Chick, I got to tell you, we never thought we could afford to have you on campus. It's like a Thursday night. He said, Keith, you guys sold out a 1,200 seat room in upstate New York for my band. He said, and I had a show in New York, and then I have a show at the Albright Knox Art Gallery in Buffalo. He said, so my choice was either I take the guys back to New York where it's going to be too expensive, or I sit in a hotel room in Buffalo for one night. He said, and I'll tell you, those guys at the art gallery, they're paying full price, because we were paying like a third. And he said, everybody's got to work on Thursdays. This is Chick Corea sitting in my car, right? So of course, for years to come after that, when I was negotiating with managers and artists, I'm like, well, Chick Corea said to me once, everybody's got to work on Thursdays. And they're like, oh, geez, with the Chick Corea quote again. I'm like, well, you know what? Everybody's, you could do this, or you could, and so it worked. So yeah, you have those moments. And of course, all those people, I'm sure Herbie was too, they're just the nicest people. Otherwise they wouldn't be the famous musicians they were. If you're not like that video I made, if you're not a good hang, if nobody wants to spend time with you, then you're not going to, you're not going to get work as a musician, as anybody, really in the long run.
Getting back to the way the Rick's interviews are, and it's incredible. The Bernard Purdie interview, it was, here I'm here in Brazil and watching Bernard Purdie sharing with so much joy his experience, his life experience, talking about other drummers who were behind him, look what he was doing, and especially the Steely Dan sessions. Oh man, it was, someone had to do this to those great musicians who today nobody reads the
liner notes.
The liner notes.
You don't sit with the record anymore.
We don't know anyone who play today. You forget the Spotify. Rick mentions that every time. The composers of each song in Spotify, there are 12, 13, 15 different composers for one shitty song.
Right. Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, if you're listening to old music, you don't know who played on what anymore. Like it used to be that one of the ways you could tell somebody was a real music fan was they could tell you who played on that record. One of the coolest things about the Bernard Purdie interview, when Rick and I were researching, getting him ready, and he doesn't do a lot of research because he's been doing it his whole life, but he'll do like the Wikipedia kind of stuff. And it listed Bernard's age as different ages. And so when they were getting ready before they turned the cameras on, he's like, Bernard, or actually even when I was talking to Bernard's wife, who's his manager, he said, I'm getting a lot of conflicting information here. It says that Bernard's this age and this age. It's like, there seems to be like a 3 or 4 year spread. What's going on with that? And he goes, and Bernard starts laughing. He goes, well, when I first started working, I was too young to legally work. So I lied about my age and it got written down. And so like, there's this 4 year difference. He's like, yeah, I don't even remember how old Bernard is, but he's like, yeah, I'm only 77, but everything says I'm 82 because I was lying about my age to be able to play on those dates in LA. It's so great. So anyway, yeah.
I would like to make a last question, and then if you had a chance, for example, Sandberg asked, we would like to make a signature model, Keith Williams signature model. What kind of specs would you choose for a guitar based on your wishes, your
right?
Your
Yeah, I probably already own that guitar. I have a Strandberg that. Should I go get one more guitar? I'll go get one more guitar and come right back.
Yeah, no problem.
You can edit out me running around the house. So this is a Strandberg Salin. It's a headless guitar, tunes from down here. This is set up with 9.5 strings and a single pickup, just one pickup. This is like a broadcaster, like the very first Telecasters. This was the guitar that got me wanting to play Strandbergs because I loved the depth of tradition that Ola was doing with this, where the butterscotch finish, like your 51P bass, right? So he did this on purpose. This is a nod to Leo, and this named the Salin because in Sweden there's a country picking contest every year. I'm like, wait, say that again, Ola. There's a country guitar contest in Sweden. He's like, yeah, in the city of Salin, and I'm not pronouncing that correctly. And that's why he named this model to the Salin. So playing with one pickup has been a minimalism exercise for me because, you know, they talk about juniors and other one pickup guitars as making you, you know, when you roll the tone back and everything, you can make the sound almost like an acoustic. You can dial it up and roll the tone back and make it sound like a humbucking pickup. You can twang it up and go this, and it's really easy. I mean, the case is really small.
Yeah.
I could take this on an airplane. Yeah, very simple
Yeah,
to do this, right? It's also, I mean, every guitar is different, and I don't hit the guitar very hard, even when I'm playing out. And this has a maple neck with a really beautiful bird's eye maple fingerboard.
Is it roasted?
It's roasted.
Yeah.
He doesn't roast the necks now because he found that it just wasn't necessary. He's got graphite. He's got 2 stripes of graphite in there.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you don't need to roast the necks. And I actually have a couple of his new guitars without roasted necks, and they're not, you know, whether they sound different. He's using rock maple anyway that he's shipping to Indonesia. But this is a roasted neck with a roasted maple fingerboard on there. And this is the same. I was waiting to get one of these to demo it, and I said, well, you know, pick out a nice one because I'm going to play that guitar for a long time. And it said, well, we have one we just sent to Premier Guitar Magazine that, you know, we picked out of the rack and we sent it to Premier Guitar. When it comes back, we'll send it to you. And so when they sent it to me, I wrote them and I'm like, you know, I'm not going to send this back.
You lost it.
We're going to have to work this out. Exactly. And I had this pick guard made and I took the electronics out and I just put the one pick guard. Honestly, if I had a neck pickup in this, I could play all the music I play. I do like a tremolo, but if I had a neck pickup in this, people I like Julian Lage, Duke Levine, they play Telecasters. They play jazz on them. A lot of famous jazz guys play Telecasters. My good friend Tim Lurch, who has an amazing channel, is a jazz guy, plays Telecasters a lot. And yeah, this would be it. I tease him that it's my signature model because I messed with it so much. And then I have another guitar that I took of his, a Salem, and put 3 Stratocaster pickups in it that is sort of a nod to a guy from England with a channel named John Cordy. And I tease John that I created a John Cordy signature model Strandberg. Yeah, so, you know, Rick has a signature Gibson coming out in September.
Really?
Yeah. And he was the first YouTuber that they reached out about doing a signature model guitar. It's a really interesting sort of cultural moment that you would do that, you know, that you would have somebody with as many. Well, here's a number for you. And Rick is, like I said, he's 15 million views a month. So my channel gets 400,000 on average, 500,000 views a month. The current subscription base readership for Rolling Stone magazine is 400,000. So here I am, a guy doing videos out of his house, whose videos are seen as much as Rolling Stone magazine is read. And that's a bizarre, I mean, I grew up reading Rolling Stone magazine. That's such a bizarre statistic to me.
It is.
But it's a fascinating moment in our history that, you know, I could create something that grew organically. I mean, I didn't set out to do the histories. I'm just curious. I did a video called Enough in the Short Histories that sort of explains why it started out as a minimalism channel and then morphed into doing the short histories. We all sort of end up doing, to a certain extent, things where the intersection, like you with your work as well, it's the intersection of things that you're really interested in and things that pay the bills. That's what work is. Yeah, right. So, and if you're lucky, you know, it leans more towards the things you're always interested in. And which is one of the reasons, like I said, I really enjoy working with small companies and seeing where they're going. Victory amps, Rev amps. Although there's a couple big companies that really listen. I have 2 new Line 6 Catalyst amplifiers back there. I cannot believe how much amplifier you can buy for $300 now. I mean, they're fully modeling and all this kind of stuff. I've got a pair of them set up in stereo, wet, dry. One is running a Fender model and one's running a matchless model. Oh my God, it sounds so incredible in this room. You know, with one of these or the DGT, it's so inspiring. And you look at it and it's like, one of these amps is the price of a good pedal.
It is.
And they do so much, you know. Or when I think back to my first guitars, the first good acoustic guitar I had was an Epiphone 12 string. And I remember very distinctly, it cost $225 in 1974.
That's a lot of money.
It was a lot of money. It was a lot of papers. It was a lot of apple pecking money that I had to pull together to buy that guitar. And when I think about how much guitar you can buy now and the amount of inflation across those years, it's one of the reasons I always put in the videos the amounts, because people like freak out that a current Les Paul costs, like $3,000. If you do the numbers, it should cost like $5,000 or $6,000, based on what they started out costing versus what they cost, what inflation and all that kind of stuff. So we live in sort of an amazing time. And whether or not, I think whether or not we appreciate the time we live in, the access to amazing instruments is the real challenge. Information is so readily available. I made that Telecaster video because I could not, because no one else had. So I made
we need curation.
The what?
We need curation. Is that right? Curation?
Yeah, that's correct word. Yeah. I'd say it's a combination of curation and inspiration.
Yeah.
I think both of those things, I'm scared of curation though. But people ask me what worries me about making videos. What worries me isn't so much that I might make a mistake. What worries me is that people then quote me as the ultimate authority to other people and go, no, Keith said. I'm like, Keith's just a guy.
This is common in science too. Sometimes I receive a notification here. Your paper was cited by an author. I will check the paper who cited my work, and he interpreted me in the wrong way.
Yeah. He's like, that's not what I meant at all.
This is another researcher with a huge curriculum, and he did a wrong interpretation of my work. So it happens.
Yeah, it does. It does. Some of the nicest moments are when people very kindly will say really kind of funny things. I got the name of the Grateful Dead's lyricist, Robert Hunter, wrong. And I said it in the video because it was probably an autofill error in my script and then ended up in the teleprompter. I said Stephen Hunter. So somebody puts in the comments, the name Stephen Hunter, in quotes, is often pronounced Robert Hunter. I'm like, that's so kind and funny all at the same time. Yeah. And at the same time, you're sharing with people like, yeah, you got this little thing wrong. It's this little thing, but it's important. And I tell people, if there's something missing, put in the comments for everybody else.
Yeah.
I always say that.
Yeah. It's a live thing,
It is.
In 20 years, people will be discussing a video that you made, 3 years ago.
That is, people are.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Right, that you're making something now that people will be watching after you've long stopped making videos.
Unless Google doesn't
maintain them. Right,
it will be there.
Well, it'll keep showing it to people as a possibility, as long as it keeps making money for them. That's really what it comes down to. There's an expression in social media, when you have the most views. The way Google works is it looks at the number of minutes that people are looking at your material as a source to decide what it puts in front of people when they do a Google search. If you do a Google search anywhere in the world for Gibson Les Paul, my video will come up, because there's 1.3 million views, and those views are of a video that's 39 minutes long. So if you do the math of minutes, it's years and years and years that people have been listening to me yammer on about Les Pauls. And when I look at these numbers, I think, well, I hope I didn't make any really bad mistakes in there. So that's what I hope to keep doing in the channel. And I imagine I'll keep doing it for a number of years. Most educational channels have a YouTube so far. YouTube's not been out there forever, but they have a life of about probably 7 to 9 years. There are some old timers, but these entertainment channels like Mr. Beast or those channels have a life of about probably 3 to 7 years, 7 years maximum, because it's working on popularity. I'm not so popular, but it is the idea that you're giving somebody that excitement of learning something, the dopamine bolt.
And we work with niche.
It is a total niche.
And every day there's a new guitar player or bass player.
It's always something else, right?
There will be, there will be always new bass players and guitar players coming, and they will find your material, and your material is something that will last for really long time. And
We'll see.
perhaps in 10 years we have to make a second part to tell the rest of the story so far, you know.
Anytime. Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So, Keith, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thanks for asking. I was thrilled to do it. I wasn't quite sure what I could give the bass community, since I'm an average guitar player and I'm a really bad bass player. But I think people are interested in sort of how do you end up creating something like the channel, and like most of your questions were really about, so why'd you do this, you know, and why do you see yourself doing it still? And I think that's interesting to all of us.
Yeah, because music is also people's lives and stories, you know.
Right.
That's, you know, you said one of the great fun of playing is to get along with people, to go into a band, and after the gig or the rehearsal to go for pizza or for you know, for yoga, whatever. You know, but
they become part of your life.
To hear stories and create stories, and that's the kind of curation I make for my channel, you know. And it's not only bass. I made a fantastic interview with David Swift from the Jules Holland band.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Jules Holland, this piano player, has a BBC TV program in England, more than 30 years. Dave Holland is his bass player for 30 years.
Wait, you interviewed Dave Holland?
No, not Dave Holland. Dave Swift, the bass player of Jules Holland. But perhaps let's try Dave Holland. I have big plans, so the least I can do is send a kind email. Ask someone have some time.
Exactly. And actually, I'm always impressed, and I think it really comes down to, and I'm not saying this about myself, but I'm impressed by these famous people, and you see them doing interviews, and the interview hasn't gotten many views because the channel's really small. And you think, that's so sweet that here's this guy who's, you know, taking an hour to do a video on a channel where they have like 400 subscribers. And you're just like, that's so cool that this guy's interested in talking about their music in this level, you know. That's so great.
Yeah, I really would like to interview Ron Carter, because he made so many records with Brazilian singers.
Oh yeah, right.
You know, Rosa Passos, for example, he made so many great records with her and many other players. So
I don't think it's that hard to get in touch with Ron.
Yeah,
I think you could reach out to his management company, and I'll bet he would do it. He's very interested. I think, how could he not be? Didn't Ron just turn 75?
Yeah.
So he just had a big birthday. So I think about legacy. So Ron's got to be thinking about legacy, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Keith, again, and have a nice day, and good luck with your channel. Keep on growing, and you soon will beat Rick in subscribers.
One of my fun moments is when people are like, "Yeah, I found Rick's channel through you." I'm like, "See? That's right."
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye.
again.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Isso aí, meu povo. Espero que vocês tenham curtido esse papo. Mais uma entrevista aqui. Uma entrevista especialíssima, internacional, e sempre com legendas em português para que vocês possam entender e absorver ao máximo, tá? Queria agradecer ao Keith por ter despendido esse tempo, essa atenção, me respondeu prontamente, ele foi super gente boa, como dá para ver na entrevista, né? O cara super legal. E a ideia é que através dessas entrevistas o canal vai ganhando corpo, relevância, e eu consiga entrevistar mais pessoas, certo? Então, muito obrigado por assistir até o final. Não se esqueçam de dar um joinha, dar um like, se inscrever no canal quem ainda não é inscrito, isso dá relevância aí no algoritmo maldito do YouTube. E quem quiser apoiar um cadinho mais, é só clicar aí no Seja Membro por R$ 2,99 por mês, uma merreca que dá 1/3 de um bom café por aí. Você apoia o canal e me ajuda a deixar o ambiente aqui ainda melhor para as nossas gravações, beleza? Fiquem bem e continue com o groove na ponta dos dedos. Valeu!